First News with Keeler in the morning on WIBX and WIBX950.com.
Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with PrizePicks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, PrizePicks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the PrizePicks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on PrizePicks for a first deposit match of up to $100. PrizePicks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
On the line right now, a great singer, Ryan Nobles from CNN.
That's big. You got Van Morrison in the studio with you this morning, Phil.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Ryan. I do
very
appreciate
good. He's here just spending the week with us, Ryan.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you know what Morrissey is? The Morrissey parody song. Do you know what that is?
Well, I know Morrissey, the singer, right? The former frontman of the Smiths, right?
Well, that's got to be it. That's got to be it.
Okay,
rock
yeah.
from the 90s.
Well, let's listen. Let's listen. Everyone is horrid except me and possibly you is the title. Here it is.
Every day I try to smile, but can't help but frown. Every day I draw my bath and pray I will drown.
Oh.
I step out my door and I take a deep breath, turn back inside and pray for my death. 'Cause everyone is horrid except me and possibly you.
Yeah, that's definitely more.
That is.
The Smith.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Yeah. Well, good morning, Ryan Nobles. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Bill. It's going to be a very, very busy day in Washington today. A lot
All
of
right.
things happening. First big thing happening at 9 o'clock this morning.
Well, what do you think? Cheney is she's definitely in trouble, but she is not going away quietly here.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. We saw her give a speech late last night on the House floor where she basically doubled down on her criticism of Donald Trump, suggested that his continuing to peddle, his falsehoods about the election is a existential threat to democracy. I don't think it's going to change any of the minds of the people in the Republican conference. I think they've pretty much settled on the idea that her continuing to speak openly about her, concerns about Donald Trump is damaging to party unity, and that the person in that role, the number 3 ranking House Republican, needs to be a voice for all the Republicans, not just her. And so they're ready to move on. I was thinking about this a lot this week. I actually had a pretty lengthy conversation with Congresswoman Tenney yesterday about this situation, and it occurred to me that for you guys in the Utica area, upstate New York, this is a pretty significant story because you have Elise Stefanik, who represents a big swath of northern New York. She's got a part of Herkimer County in her district. She's going to become the number 3 ranking House Republican, the most powerful Republican woman in the country, and she represents a big portion of your listening audience. So this is a big story for you locally as we see this play out over the next couple of days.
And Ryan, she may end up, there's always a lot of talk about the expansion of NY22, and the talk is always about Catco, and will there be a race between Tenney and Catco? Chances are they combine the districts if the state is not successful in their lawsuit over the census. But, the other part of this is you're probably going to see some creep coming from Stefanik's district as well, and somewhere in the middle they'll butt up against each other.
I think you're absolutely right, and I wonder, is the way that district has gone in past redistrictings, it seems to have gone further and further south, particularly into portions of the Mohawk Valley, as evidenced by the fact that she is part of Herkimer County. The one thing that Oneida County has been able to do very successfully over the last couple of redistrictings is keep that Oneida County completely intact. They've never been split up between different congressional districts, and Oneida County has also been very fortunate to have the member of Congress that represents Oneida County and whatever the district number is actually live in Oneida County. If you go back all the way, to Sherry Bullard and before. So, I do think that this particular redistricting is the biggest threat to that consistency for Oneida County and the Utica area in particular, as to whether or not you're going to see the Tenney district broke up in a way that, a portion of Oneida County goes one way and maybe another part of it goes another way. And then by extension, maybe you lose Oneida County as having a specific representative. But to your point, there is a good chance that Stefanik's district becomes even more part of central New York and more part of the Mohawk Valley. So, her taking on this role, I mean, I'm trying to think, in my time covering politics in central New York, Congressman Bullard was a committee chair for the latter part of his career. He was the chair of the Science Committee. But I don't know if there's ever been a member of Congress that's had that big a job representing that area in at least the recent, modern history of politics in this area. So,
and Andrew,
well, and the redistricting is because of an 87 count shortage.
Well,
I'm still crazy.
I'm still hopeful that you may see the lawsuit because Cuomo is suing over this. I'm still confident that you may see New York not lose that congressional seat.
I mean, I do think, this was such an odd year on so many fronts, and particularly the way the census counting went was also very controversial. They just, normally the way they count the census is people physically go door to door and knock on people's doors to make sure that they're counted if they don't respond to surveys. And that was something that the census takers just weren't able to do this year because of COVID. I know because my father was, he's retired now, so he's always doing odd jobs, and that was one of the things he was going to do was be a census counter, and he could only do it for a week because he just was physically impossible because of COVID. So there is perhaps some grounds for making a case for that, but the census is the census is constitutionally authorized, so it'll be interesting to see what legal ground Cuomo has to stand on. But to Andrew's point, the margin was so tight that you think there'd at least be some level of discussion about it.
Well, what I was going to say is it's interesting just for Elise Stefanik, everybody thought she would be one of the people that would try to challenge Cuomo, but if she gets this position, that's off the table, I would imagine, 100%.
She's not going to run for governor. She's already said that she's not going to run for governor.
And the other part, let's not forget who's going to be doing the redistricting when it's done. This is going to be done by Democrats in a way that is going to they're going to try to protect some, like the 22nd. If it were to remain, I think they are going to try to position it so it's far more Democratic than maybe leaning Democrat as opposed to leaning Republican.
I think you're right, but the problem is as the way the last couple of redistricting cycles have gone, they've carved up upstate New York so much to try and limit the Republican gains that there isn't much space left to go. Like if you look at the Catco district, you look at the Tenney district, and you look at the Stefanik district, it's like how can you make any of those? I mean, one of them is going to have to become more Republican and less Democrat. I don't know exactly what population center you draw in to make either, because basically Catco's district already has a big chunk of Syracuse. The question is, where do you draw from to find a grouping of Democratic voters? I think they're going to have a hard time doing that. So, I think especially the Catco and Tenney districts, those are going to remain toss-up districts. I think no matter how they configure it. The question is whether or not they put a situation where Catco and Tenney have to run against each other, or maybe Tenney has to run against Stefanik or something like that. But the idea that they could become more Democratic, I think, is going to be pretty hard.
Yeah, and I got to say that if let's say it's Catco and Tenney primarying each other, I would have to say at this point, based on some of Catco's votes against President Trump, I got to tell you, I think that you'd see in a Republican primary Claudia Tenney with a definite advantage there. The problem is once she wins the primary, what happens then?
It's a great point, and this is something that's going to play out, right? In congressional districts all across the country. What's interesting about Catco is, he voted to impeach President Trump. He was one of only 10 that voted to impeach the second time. But now, and he was also one of Liz Cheney's stalwart defenders when we went through this the first time around. Now, in this incarnation of it, he's already come out in support of Elise Stefanik. Now, he's kind of tried to have it both ways. He said that he's only going to support Stefanik if Cheney's pushed out. He's not said whether or not he's going to vote Cheney out. But this, he's already positioning himself to kind of make that transition into, loyal Republican soldier. And I think when Katko is somebody who just doesn't want to talk about it anymore.
Yep.
He made the vote. Unlike Cheney, who every opportunity she gets, and when she's asked the question, she continues to double down on her concerns about Trump's role in the Republican Party. My colleague Annie Grayer ran into Katko yesterday and tried to ask him about Cheney, and he just said, now's not the time to talk about this. So he would prefer to talk about the policies, the future of the Republican Party as a conservative movement. He doesn't want to talk about Trump anymore, and it's for that exact reason you're talking about, Bill.
All right, interesting. We'll see what comes out of all of this today, Ryan. Thank you.
All right, guys, have a good one. Go Mets, 6 in a row.
Go Mets, absolutely. We don't have to win by runs, just as long as we win.
No, we squeak it out with, infield hits in the ninth inning or bases loaded walk is a great way to win.
Walk them in. I like that. That's always a good way to win.
Who knew that you needed a ground ball, a dribbler specialist for a late inning game?
I know.
But the Mets, smartly picked somebody up that can do that.
That's
right. Hit a grounder into the ground that just gives the runner from third enough time to score. It works. And, let's see, 6 in a row. Today's Matt Harvey Day. So
that's old-fashioned National League baseball right there, baby.
That's right.
There was a game last week, Ryan, where the Mets left 17 runners on base, stranded 17 runners. And if this population declines, that will be more than the number of members of Congress that we have in New York State.
Yes.
That's very funny. All right, good stuff.
Very good.
Afternoon game today, by the way, Ryan.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, and Harvey's pitching, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
I hope we pummel him.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
All right, guys, have a great one.
Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.